has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
All right, make sure you get the SportsGrid app on iOS or Android. It's free, and you're going to love it. You can watch the network, listen to the network. It's got in-game odds, stories, highlights, videos. Follow your favorite hosts like Dave Sharapan, all of it on the SportsGrid app. You'll love it. And, hey, did you know we're streaming on X? Just go to SportsGrid-Live, and you can get a piece of that. I wanted to tell you about the C2C and Ferrall on a Bench podcast. Did you know that they're available on iTunes? That's right. Every day you can go get that on iTunes. The 3-hour C2C show, if you missed the show, or the short sports recap and lay the table for the night ahead in sports with Ferrall on a Bench. Your styling. And then I wanted to tell you about two things programming-wise. Next week we're in New Orleans all week, coast to coast. And a lot of the SportsGrid network, obviously taking over Bourbon Street and New Orleans at the Radio Row, at the Media Center, at the Convention Center on Bourbon Street. Should be fun. We'll be there the 3rd through the 7th. SportsGrid setting the bar, setting the standard, taking over, and it'll be easy doing it. Also, tonight, you've got Game Time Decisions with the Kevin Walsh coming up at 6 to 8. And then in-game live with my boy, Spittin' Speeds, Dane Martinez, along with one and only Dave Sharapan, and then Sports Rage from 10 to midnight, of course. You've got Carver and Lisi, 8 to 10 on SportsGrid Radio, all happening. We've got the sportsbook consigliere himself here today. Thank God for that. I was on BVB this week. I always like doing it at least once. A quarter or something like that. I don't want to overdo it or overstep my bounds. I always like going on that show. It's a great show. It's a funny show. Very cool guys. They do a killer job. The show is blown up. They're all over the place. They do live shows all over the country. They go on the road. They go to casinos in Vegas. And I mean, they set the standard. You guys are having a blast. What was the reaction this time when I was on? It's always brutal language and bad behavior. And porous, absolutely heinous type actions by me.
You set a record.
I did
for a number of times. Yes, that you used words that needed to be beeped out by our esteemed producer back in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, one of those places. Yeah, it was triple digits. And it went way over. I mean, it went way over. And you killed it. I mean, you got sweaty like you were talking about playing basketball. How many points did you have in the night game? Because you had a morning game, you had the show, then you did this show, and then you had a night game. And I figured, as fired up as he was, you were good for your points prop, based on the information that you gave us, was 10.5. Did you get double digits points in the night?
So that was, I did your show Monday, right? So Monday night I had 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 dimes, and we put up 107 points. And last night we put up 104 points, and we won both games, one by 30, one by 39. And last night we put up 104, and I had 10, 4, and 2. 10, 4, and 2 last night. So I still got double figs, but I only played 12 minutes last night. On Monday night, I played 40 minutes. So I want to ask you a question. Right. You heard before we went on that my daughter Chop was in a game and not getting the rock. They don't run screens for her with their idiot offense, I call it, where they just pass the ball around and turn it over and lose. So I just saw Mafia had it on for me because I like to keep track of it. They're losing by a bucket at the half, I think 25-23. I'm very upset about it. When your daughters are playing at Felician, they're both there, right? Like, how is that going? And what does it do to you as a girl dad following their games? Like, I follow my daughter's games when I'm not able to go, which is any weekday game. I can't go because they're all at 4:15. And then on Saturdays I go, and my wife won't sit with me because she thinks I'm offensive and loud and embarrassing because I cheer for the girls' team. And all the girls on the team love me when I start booing or I start yelling support, that my voice cascades around the gym because nobody goes to the games. And she's embarrassed by me. 34C will not admit that she's my wife. How is it for you with your two daughters playing at Felician?
So I coached them from the time they were really little, so they get it, and they know I know what I'm talking about. Now, you're from Mount Lebanon. I'm from Green Tree. These are the communities next to each other in
right
Pittsburgh.
Next to each other.
Tremendous place. This is the way we grew up. This is the way every dad was at every sport that I went to. So I don't know any different. I moved out west, and I've been out here like in Vegas 21 years, in Phoenix for 4 years before that. So it's been a long time. People sometimes are a little bit surprised by the amount of intensity that you bring to the game watching your kids play, but I ain't getting cheated. I'm not. What am I going to do? Go sit on my hands? I tell my wife all the time. She used to tell me, can you calm down a little bit? No. I feel like I'm playing.
No.
I'm living every at bat, every possession with them. I'm in the game. All right. So, and if the kids on a team like you, then you made it. Let it go. Don't worry about what 34C says. I tell my wife as well, listen, if you don't want to sit with me, that's fine. Sit up there with all the moms and sit on your hands and clap politely every once in a while. I ain't doing that. I'm watching the game. Yeah. So I get it.
I'm proud of you that you don't change for anyone. Let me ask you about your feelings about, are you going to New Orleans, and what are your feelings about these two playing again? I know you know my feelings about it. What are your feelings about it?
You made it very clear on Bostonian versus the book. And if you didn't, somebody needs to go back and watch it on the YouTube channel at Boston versus the book and watch Ferrall unleashed, unfiltered. It's an amazing 25-minute performance. I mean, you want to talk about over everything. You said it there. It's against the Chiefs. I had this epiphany this week. I've been doing this is my fifth show of the day today. All right. I've been on all over the country doing hits, talking about the game. The thing that keeps coming back to me, Scotty, is Kansas City's been in, with this year, 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. Okay. That's a ridiculous run.
Right.
They've won the last one I made the number for. I made San Francisco favored against Kansas City when they lost in 2020. San Francisco did. Kansas City won. But I keep remembering the Tampa game. The game against Tampa, Kansas City was a short favorite. And Tampa hit Patrick Mahomes nonstop.
Running for his life.
Defensive performance. Tom Brady was the quarterback. All right, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is Tom Brady, but I think Philadelphia's going to have their way defensively. I like the Eagles right now. I got a week to think about it and a week to talk about it. I like the Eagles.
When is Vegas going to get the NBA team?
We're a little bit away. There's a lot going on. Did you hear the NBA today? Adam Silver wants to make the game 40 minutes, and there's another gambling controversy, if you haven't heard about it. It's been
we talked about Scary Terry. We talked about NBA in Europe. But have they started building the baseball stadium?
Nope. It's a big hole in the ground right now.
It's just a hole with asbestos.
Yes, that's it. That's what that Tropicana was. Tropicana was up.
The Super Bowl should be in Vegas every year. And
let's go.
What is the over-under on me getting murdered in New Orleans?
Pick 'em.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
One of the weirdest nicknames I've heard in fighting. There's people have some strange nicknames at times, but the Lemon Killer. What do you even make of that? What is that about?
I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna squeeze him like a lemon on the day we fight, and he's gonna pop.
Only on SportsGrid.
We're going to get rid of all the badness, if you will, over the past few decades for the Raiders and set yourself up for the future. It's a horrible job to take if you expect to win, but it's not a bad paying gig, so go ahead and take it.
With an owner in Mark Davis who has continued to make bad decision after bad decision. Does Pete Carroll leave a culture behind that Joe Brady in 2 to 3 years takes over?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
He did nothing for 5 weeks. So he is becoming his brother. So I don't want to hear about how great TJ Watt is with his 0 playoff wins. And he's the first guy to admit it. He comes right out and says, I've never won a playoff game. I don't matter. All right, at least we all know who the best player on the team is. It's George Pickens. If you don't believe that, well, then screw you too.
Ferrall, coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
We'll see if they get McCain back. Kelly Oubre, Yabusele's been good. Caleb Martin's a defensive specialist. Andre Drummond can still give you, almost a double-double at any point. I can't go south on this team. And now you're giving it to me at 2-1 to make the playoffs? To be in the Final 8? Folks, give me the Philadelphia 76ers to make the playoffs at plus 210.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Obviously, it was great talking to Dave Sherapan from BVB, and they had a lot of stuff cooking, those two, Peralt and Sherapan, always cooking something in the kitchen. So we'll keep our eyes on those guys. But we got a lot of hockey games tonight, Carver High, and as you know, everybody loves hockey.
Everybody does love hockey. All right, a lot of games tonight. We'll start in Boston, where the Jets are in town to see the Bruins. Jets the road favorite tonight as well. Minus $1.55 I've got them up to. Boston plus 135 and a 5.5.
I mean, honestly, every time I turn around, the Bruins lose, right? Like, how can I bet on them against this team? Against this team that just kicks everyone's ass and wins every night. I got to take the Jets.
Minnesota, after the win in Toronto, back-to-back, they're in Montreal this evening. Habs, minus $1.35, plus 114 for the Wild, 6.5. And Flowers in the net tonight. Of course, this is the last time he might ever play in Montreal, so he is going to start for the Wild this evening.
Well, I mean, they looked great last night, right? And they are better than the Canadians, and I like that price. I'll take the Wild at plus $1.22, I think it is.
The Capitals have a stop in Ottawa after coming on the Western Canadian trip before they get home. Pick them tonight, minus 110 both ways for the Caps and the Sens, 5.5 total.
Can we go rogue? Can we get a little roguey Vachon here and take the Senators in Ottawa tonight? They skate along the river there, you know.
They do. Back-to-back for Los Angeles. Of course, they lost in Sunrise last night, and tonight they're in Tampa against the Lightning. Lightning minus $1.50, Kings plus 125, and a 5.5.
Yeah, I got to look at that. Like, I hate that price. Like, getting a goal and a half is too expensive. I don't think Tampa's going to beat them by 2 goals. I think the only choice here is Tampa at Amalie to win the game and that 60 cents, you got to deal with it.
The heavy lumber game of the night is in Raleigh as the Blackhawks and the Hurricanes get together. How about minus 430 for Carolina, plus 330 for the Hawks, and a 6.5?
Well, to me, it looks like they're going to stomp them. Rantanen and Aho and company, this one's ugly. This is a puck line game for me, and you got to pay the 60 cents. It's $1.60 to lay the goal and a half, and I'll take that risk. I've been hitting puck line bets left and right here on Coast to Coast, and everybody knows it, so I'll go with it again.
The Islanders have won 5 in a row, looking for 6 tonight in Philadelphia against the Flyers. Of course, last night they got whacked by the Devils. Islanders minus $1.40 here. Flyers plus 120 and a 5.5.
I got to take them. They won 5 in a row, and I know it's always tough on the road, but I don't think the Flyers are, they're a 500 hockey team. If you're hot, you should be able to beat them. Go in there and win that game, make it 6 in a row, and then the Islanders are on to something. This is a huge game for them tonight. You make it 6 in a row, you got something going.
I think if they won tonight, they'd jump 2 or 3 teams in the East as well on that 6-game winning streak, so that would be helpful too. The Ducks are in Calgary for Alberta against the Flames. Flames minus 185 tonight. Ducks plus $1.55 and a 5.5.
I'll lay that goal and a half with the Flames at Saddle Dome at plus 135. I think they can beat the Ducks by a pair of goals.
Oilers are at home tonight with Detroit coming into town. Some pretty good lumber here. Minus 260 I've got the Oilers at now. Plus 215 for the Wings and a 6.5.
I'll take the Wings with a goal and a half at a minus 120 price that I think's juicy. I think they give the Oilers a game tonight. I think that's a 1-goal game. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to take a shot with them. They've been tough. I'll give them that. I think they're tougher than people think they are.
Vegas still home at the T-Mobile tonight. They have Columbus in town. Vegas minus 290 now. Columbus plus 240 and a 6.5.
I'll take the goal and a half with the Jackets in Vegas tonight as well at minus $1.05 because we talked about it with Adam Hill, and he talked about how they won the game 4-1, but every other game they played, they've lost. I took Dallas the other night in Vegas, and they won in overtime on the Johnston goal, 4-3, and I'm going to take the goal and a half here tonight with the Jackets. The Sports Jackets are a lot better than people give them credit for. I know they're way better at home in Columbus, but give me that goal and a half, and then let's let it ride.
Everybody loves the Sport Jackets. And finally, the Sharks are in Seattle tonight at the Climate Pledge. Minus 192 for the Kraken. Plus 158 for San Jose and a 6.5. Down to 5.5, actually.
I'll lay the goal and a half with Seattle at Climate Pledge. I think the Sharks are pathetic, and I'm getting $1.30 if it hits. I'll go for it because I'm not laying $1.95 on Seattle. They suck too.
They do suck too. Seattle, that's for sure. There you go. That's your night in hockey.
Everybody loves hockey.
Everybody does love hockey. All right, I still have some college rack that we have to get to. I have several games from last night that we'll start here, and then we'll get into tonight's games on the other side after that. Auburn beat LSU 87-74 last night.
Broom with the double-double.
Yes, double-double for him. Alabama beat Miss State by 4, 88-84. Nice win for them in Starkville to go in, especially since Mississippi State was favored last night. Houston whacked West Virginia 63-49. Maryland getting involved. The unranked team favored over the ranked team and the cover 76-68 for them. Texas Tech smashed TCU. Ole Miss got by Texas 72-69. I have UConn, of course, beat DePaul. Now, they struggled. I'll come back and play you Hurley. When you win 2 national championships, you're the 2-time defending champs, you'd think maybe you get a break from the home fans. It didn't really happen last night. Some boos in Hartford with how sluggish the Huskies were going against DePaul. We'll see what Coach Hurley thought of that after the game.
I bet that didn't go over well with him. He's been real testy lately.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Carver, what did Dan Hurley get mad about last night?
Well, mad. I guess you could say a little upset. Maybe not mad. You know, UConn was down 8 at the half to DePaul in Hartford, stormed back and smashed him in the second half. Here's Hurley talking about hearing a couple of boos from the fans out there.
I mean, I guess that's just for the fans to decide, you know, whether this program and everything we've given them the last couple of years, whether, you know, they believe that that was the right thing to do. I'm not, you know, my UConn fans, while I'm getting, you know, crushed by all types of, you know, people in the national media, you know, my, you know, UConn fans have had my back since I've been here and are undyingly loyal to me, and, you know, and they get that same back from me. And, you know, that's why I'll never coach basketball in any other place unless you guys just don't want me here anymore. But, you know, that's for, I guess, the fans to decide whether, you know, they think based on everything we've given them the last 2 years, whether, you know, whether that was warranted or not.
He's hanging that hat on those 2 titles, right? Like he wants nobody booing him. And I don't really. It's easy to say they're not having a good season because they aren't. I mean, they're barely ranked. They're not three-peating, but he's been an incredible coach there and a winner, and that's just all there is to it. And he has a very short fuse. And if you think he's bad, you should have seen his father. Okay? His father is the guy that turned him into what he is today. His father's the one that rode his ass like a school bus. I mean, honestly, his dad was crazy, and he coached like, I mean, the torturous practices that guy had at St. Anthony's. Are you kidding me? Why do you think Dan Hurley's crazy? Bobby's crazy too. Like, but Bobby was, you know, more crazy, if you ask me, as a player than he ever has been as a coach, because he really isn't a good coach. Danny is. Bobby's not. Bobby was a great player, and he was in your face. He made Reddick look like an angel. I thought Bobby Hurley was one of the biggest D's I've ever seen in my life playing basketball.
Elsewhere, Rutgers beat Northwestern last night. Ace Bailey, first Division I freshman with multiple 35-point games on the road since Trey Young in 17-18. Your boy Ace has gotten it done for Rutgers this year. If only both of those guys could play on a regular basis, right? If they could just have both guys out there, the other kid never plays. Harper, he's never out there. So it'd be nice if they had both of them. They could actually be dangerous. As sick as that they're going to have two of the top 3 or 4 picks in the draft next year, and it's they're already finished. They almost got they might get in the tournament, but you'd think they would have had a bigger season having two guys that good.
I'll give you that. And I think I got to be honest with you. I think Peichel, you have those two great players and you don't win. I think he's in danger. I do. Yeah. I think that they don't have, I think Peichel's done a good job. He did a lot better job when he didn't have talent than when he's had it. He finally has two superstar players and they don't win. They won last night, though. I'll give him that. By the way, I know you got that UNLV cover. We hit a ton of stragglers last night. All those late straggler bets we put up, we hit 75% of them.
There was a lot of straggler games, obviously so many to list. I could quickly try to get through a couple of them for you, especially the late night ones, because we always love the late night.
I know the early ones, Army, Furman, Asheville, Mercer, Chattanooga, Drake. It went on and on. Virginia, Rhode Island. Christ, what didn't we hit? Honestly.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe, we said this to you yesterday. Why the hell was Miami favored? Miami shouldn't be favored over anybody. And they were favored over Virginia last night.
They couldn't beat Gottlieb's team.
Second hole-in-one of the day at Pebble Beach here we just had.
Was that the Irish Bear?
The Irish Bear, Shane Lowry, with the ace there at Pebble. What a shot on the 7th. Great shot by Lowry. He had one a couple of years ago somewhere else. Nice shot by the Irish Bear. I'll give you tonight's games later on after you talk to Blue Line, Gentleman George. After that, I'll give you tonight's games.
Are you kidding me? The old Blue Liner?
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. If I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
you kidding me? We got the old blue liner on C2C today. George Kurtz joins us. Always fun to see you, George, and have you on. I want to start with your Cowboys because I'd love to hear your reaction to the firing of McCarthy and the hiring of Schottenheimer after they wasted everyone's time for 2 or 3 days talking about Deion Sanders as if that was going to happen. And then, I mean, honestly, what a letdown after that to go with Schottenheimer, if you ask me.
My reaction was pretty simple here. This is not a reaction against Brian Schottenheimer. I have no idea if Schottenheimer's going to be a good head coach. Would I have hired him? No. It should tell you something that, Scotty, how many coaching interviews do you think were held by all the teams this offseason? 60? I mean, the Bears and Jets did like 20 each, it seemed like. Yet Schottenheimer had one interview from the Cowboys. All right. Jerry Jones telling you, we did an exhaustive search. You interviewed four coaches, right? You interviewed, Schottenheimer, Saleh, Leslie Frazier. You interviewed all guys that you can control. That's all you did. Deion Sanders was never going to coach the Cowboys. What does Jerry Jones love? Jerry Jones loves the spotlight. He loves, after a win or a loss, no matter what happens, he loves having that scrum with the media to talk about everything. And if he would have hired Deion, he might have had to give that up because the media, they may want to go talk to Deion and not him. All right, because Deion may even give him a better quotes than Jerry would. So Deion was never coming there. I told Corey this the other night. I'll always be a Cowboy fan, Scotty. You and I are about the same age, right? I go back to Staubach, Dorsett, Randy White, Too Tall Jones, all those guys, my heroes growing up, right? Danny White in the 80s, who never really got the love he deserved here. And those Cowboys, you may have hated them, but you respected them, right? The 90s with Aikman, same thing here. The Cowboys are a running joke now. That's all they are a joke. All right, Jerry Jones has made them a joke. I didn't even realize this. The Cowboys have 4 playoff wins. Forget 30 years without a championship. They have 4 playoff wins in 30 years. 4! That's just nuts. It's just absolutely nuts here. Jerry Jones has destroyed the Cowboys. I used this line all week. The best thing what do they say? The best thing the devil ever did was convince people he doesn't exist. The best thing Jerry Jones has ever done is convince people he cares about winning. He does not care about winning. He may want to win, but he doesn't care about winning. All right, this is why he's always in control here. He tells you, I'm the best man for the job. No, you're not. You're not. And by the way, I didn't plan on getting mad when I knew you were going to bring up the Cowboys here. And even my wife actually told me, are you going to yell and scream again? I'm like, no, I'm going to be calm here. And it's not the question that makes me mad. It's when I start thinking about all the lies that Jerry Jones has told us. I'm all in. I'm a poker player. Your definition of all in is a little different than mine here. And you keep hiring puppets. Just, stop peeing down my back and telling me it's raining. All right, Scotty, I'm a fan, but I am no longer I'm not going to live and die by Cowboys winning and losing during the season. I want them to win, but I'm not going to live and die by it anymore.
It's like the Steelers for me. I mean, they win all these games that don't matter, and then in December they fold up shop, and then they lost 5 going out, and they've since 2011? They don't have playoff wins either. They won once since 2015? 1 playoff win? It's the same thing. They got a guy that wins and has never had a losing season, and everyone hangs their hat on his 18 years of winning games that don't matter. And in Pittsburgh, it's a lot like Dallas. We're used to championships, Super Bowls, trophies, winning. You've been to 8, you've won 6. You guys are sitting there with 5, and you're right, but it's the same torture for me as what you're going through.
And maybe we're too high on it because, as you said, we grew up with trophies. All right, the Steelers beat those. The first game I can ever remember watching is the second Cowboys-Steelers Super Bowl. All right, the 35, the Jackie Smith, oh bless his heart game. That's the first football game I can remember watching here. But we're used to those championships. We're used to winning here, and maybe that's partly on us. You and I are also big baseball fans. I remember just making the playoffs. It's a huge thing in baseball. And of course, now they added 18 wild cards in all these divisions. It's not as big a thing anymore. But once again, maybe we're a little spoiled there. Because we don't want playoffs. I don't want to win a wild card round. I don't even want to win a divisional round. I'm not greedy. I don't need a Super Bowl just to win a championship. Get to a championship game, please. I mean, listen, I'm 55. I have no idea the Cowboys are going to win again in my lifetime because Jerry Jones is going to live forever. and I don't think they'll ever win while Jerry Jones is still in charge.
He's gonna live forever. The Islanders are hot, and they've won 5 in a row, and they got a big game tonight in Philadelphia against the Flyers. I like them to win their 6th in a row. Carver High mentioned they jump a couple teams in the East. Are you buying into what you're seeing of late from your Islanders?
I don't know how they're doing it. Their defense is beat up to crap, right? I mean, they're down 3 regular defensemen here. I mean, you signed Tony DeAngelo, let you know how desperate they are. That's not a Lou Lamoriello guy at all. But they signed him. You trade for Perunovic. They are playing well. Now, I wasn't on them the other night versus Colorado. I thought Colorado would take advantage of that bad defense, but no. I am on them tonight. Philadelphia played last night, so you're getting on the second half of back-to-back nights. Sorokin is in net. Wanted to make sure of that. But Sorokin is in net here, and they're playing well. Right now, they're playing better. The best hockey they played all season long. I don't think this is going to amount to anything. This is a tease. This is going to a strip club. This is all this is. It's a tease because sooner or later they're going to go back to the team they should be here, but they're going to play just well enough where they're either going to trade in, a huge mistake, or they're not going to trade free agents like Nelson and Palmieri. So as an Islander fan, I'm upset too, but for a different reason because they're winning when they shouldn't be winning here. But I do like them tonight. I think they'll take care of Philadelphia.
Carver High was right when he told me that, like, when they have, like, a Monday night game and they're playing the Jackets, nobody goes, and the players don't like seeing an empty arena, this fancy arena they play in. But who would walk around the corner on a Monday night to see that when they weren't winning? Now that they're winning, all of a sudden, do you think it'll start filling up again at the horse track?
You know, the funniest thing, I wouldn't say they weren't selling out early in the season, but they were, the seats were decently full, 80%, whatever it was. They played Colorado the other night. I mean, that's McKinnon, McCarr, and, Carver and I were on, Carver and Lacey, we're watching the game. There were a lot of people dressed as empty seats in that game. So I would hope they are playing better here, but I think a lot of fans have the same apathy that Carver and I have. That once again, they're not fun to watch, Scotty. It's a boring team. I mean, there's no great offensive player here. They don't play with any kind of speed here. They have no power play whatsoever. So like I said, it's a hard team to watch and get up for. Plus, I think if you're a true hockey fan, you realize, Scotty, even if they get into the playoffs, there'll be a wild card team and they'll get trounced by whoever wins the, Florida, or Carolina Devils will beat them. Hell, the Rangers will beat them up. So what are you hoping for? What does that do for you to make the wild card? You're a middling team. You're in middling hell.
Are you buying that the Devils could go on a run?
I think they're dangerous. I mean, who's demonstrably better than the Devils? Carolina's good, but I wouldn't say demonstrably better.
Right.
All right. The Rangers, I think, are still a dangerous team, and they'll make another move before the deadline.
I agree with you. I think they're going to make a mark.
I think you're right. I think you're right. They're a team. If they only finish like in 7th place on a wild card, I would be just thrilled to win the Atlantic, go win the Metro, and you got to play the Rangers round 1. Isn't that just great? Sort of like out west where you win the division. You got to play Colorado round 1. There's a joy. So I think the Rangers are dangerous here, but Carolina, the Devils, Florida, I think they're all sort of in that mix here. Whoever makes the best moves by the deadline on March 7th could be the favorite here. But to answer your question, I do like the Devils, especially if Markstrom comes back healthy.
Yeah, and he got banged up in the crease, but I think the Oilers, I still buy them that they're going to be tougher this year in the playoffs. A lot of people think they're going to run out of gas. I don't. I think they're going to be really dangerous again in the playoffs. Are you still doing all the games? Are you at the rink all the time, reffing games, George?
No, I've retired. I got tired of being yelled at all night, so I retired.
They were giving you the business, the old blue liner?
A lot of 4-letter bombs.
I love you, George. You're the man. It's great to have you on, buddy. Thanks.
How you, Scotty?
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. the New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High, your boy, the old blue liner. I know you do a lot of shows with him on Carver and Lisi, I guess on Tuesdays. That's awesome. He's funny. All right, college rack tonight. We got to make some more money tonight in the NCAA.
We certainly do. Why don't we start with triple header in the Big Ten? Yes, Big Ten triple header for you tonight. Ohio State visiting Penn State. That's a 6:30 East tip. -3.5 for Penn State. We have Illinois road favorites in Nebraska. Been a tough place to play at the last couple of years. And UCLA late night, 3.5-point favorite over Oregon. You know I always love these. The unranked team favored at home over the ranked team. Give me UCLA.
Yeah, I like the Bruins tonight at Pauley as well. And Nebraska's just been absolutely crumbling apart of late, and I think Illinois can go into Lincoln and beat them. Illinois is tough. They're legitimate. Like now, I think Nebraska and Freddie are desperate tonight, which is a problem. I mean, there you go with a team getting points, but they're at home. But I still think Illinois is flat out better than them. And I like Penn State tonight at Happy Valley. We've seen them cover a lot lately. I think they beat the Buckeyes tonight in University Park.
Elsewhere, AAC game, we have Memphis visiting Tulane this evening. Memphis favored on the road. We always love when the Jackrabbits and the Bison get together. South Dakota State and North Dakota State. Let's go. UTEP and Western Kentucky. The Anteaters laying a fat piece on the road at Long Beach State. And a great one, Midnight East tip, UC San Diego. The road favorite on the Big Island against Hawaii.
Yeah, I like UC San Diego there, and I like Irvine at Long Beach. I think Long Beach is terrible. I like UTEP, believe it or not, at the Hilltoppers. They're getting 2.5. I think they're tougher. I like North Dakota State at home. I love that I'm only laying 2.5 there. And I'm going to go Rogie Vachon here and take Tulane in the 6.5. I think Memphis is flat out better, but they are not that bad, Tulane. They're a couple of games over 500. They're at home. It's going to be rowdy. They're getting a 6.5 burger. Let's go. Let's hope the Waves show up tonight and get involved in that game with Memphis. I guarantee you Memphis doesn't respect them. They're going to go in there and think it's a walk in the park.
I'm sure that they don't. There's lots of stragglers if you like them, whether it's Cleveland State and Purdue Fort Worth and the Horizon.
That's
great
a great game.
game.
That game's 5. Too many points. Cleveland State was one of the hottest teams in the country over the last month, And I think you cannot give them 5 points. I think Purdue, Fort Wayne, they both have a similar record, 16-15 wins. I think Cleveland State covers that 5 spot, and Purdue, Fort Wayne barely wins that game by a point or 2.
There are several others if you like any of them. I know the Gauchos have CSU Northridge tonight. Davis is playing Riverside. I always love those late night ones.
I'll tell you what, Northridge has blown my mind. I'm going to take them with an upset at Santa Barbara. I like Loyola Marymount against Portland, laying the 11.5. I think Washington State's going to spank Pacific. I like Riverside minus the 5.5 against Davis. I like Grand Canyon laying a 10 spot at home over Seattle. There's so many other games that are delicious too that I was looking at earlier. Let me see if I can find a couple of them and kick them out to you. Lipscomb, I'm going to lay the 9 at home over Eastern Kentucky. I like that one. I like South Bama over Monroe, but it's too many points, 16. Monroe won the other night. I like the points there. Texas State over Louisiana, they're awful. I'm going to go Ferrall State with a 3.5 piece in the woods in Georgia over 16-win Liberty. Can we get an upset tonight with Ferrall State Carver High?
Why not? Ferrall State, always good maybe to get us an upset there. So there's your college rack for this evening. All right, I have some baseball notes. We are getting close. Couple weeks away from pitchers and catchers getting going here. I mean, it's just around the corner doing push-ups. Aaron, I guess all the Yankees went on their tour this week to talk about the offseason. Yesterday, I gave you all that stuff that Hal said. And now Aaron Boone also doing a lot of talking. He didn't like all the Dodger trash talk after the World Series. I guess all the guys, Joe Kelly, and then there was a few others that maybe, but
who
they didn't like the trash talk. Like, get over it. How about beat them for once? Like, honestly, how about beat them? Do
you
that.
get your ass beat and you want preferential treatment? Like, honestly, what are you looking for here, Coach?
Amazing. It really is. Pete Alonso allegedly, desperately wants to be back with the Mets. Apparently there is offers that have been sitting on the table from Toronto, from the Angels, and he just hasn't taken them because he's just dying for the Mets to just come back and offer him something comparable. I think he should stop waiting, as if I was him.
What more do you need to know that they won't give him a good offer at all? Like, the offers are so terrible. He must be stupid. He should just do the deal in Toronto already and move on. Can't you realize and see that they don't want you? I mean, they want you for nothing, and they think nothing of you. Honestly, Cohen even said dealing with his people is a pain in his ass.
Yep. Said that last week at that fan fest that they did. The Blue Jays did find someone else today to take more of their money. We know how hard it is now for them to give it away. Max Scherzer.
Please.
1-year deal, $15 million.
He's so washed. He can't even make 5 starts. What's the over-under on how many starts he makes?
6.5. I mean, it's like, honestly, like, it's just, it is what it is. It's 6.5 is the number for him. Tampa signs Ha-Sung Kim, 2-year deal worth $29 million. I actually kind of wanted the Yankees to sign him. I know he could play a little infield for them more than the guys that they've got. The Reds came close to trading for Luis Robert Jr. from the White Sox, but they couldn't come to agreement on who was going to pay him. The Reds didn't want to pay him, so they went and signed Austin Hayes instead to a 1-year deal. That'll fire him up in Cincinnati.
The Reds aren't as bad. The White Sox are an utter embarrassment. They make the Pirates look good.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game going do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Everybody loves leftovers.
Everyone loves leftovers. Fine, I'll put this in since he's enemy.
All
We've
right.
been the ongoing saga of what the Utah's going to name the Dopey Hockey Club. Yesterday we gave you 3 names. They've already changed that. They took the Wasatch out of the mix. They chopped it already. It took them 24 hours, and apparently there's been a cry for outlaws.
How many teams are called Outlaws in sports across America? Like 50? The Outlaws.
Just call them the Hockey Club. Like, it's just, this is like with the Washington. Like, football team was better than the dopey stuff that they came up with. Like just please. So awful. All right, rest of the leftovers. Major League Baseball's average salary rose 2.9% to a record $4.66 million average salary in 2024. And that's like without deferred payments. Deferred payments to everybody on the Dodger roster. So nice job, $4.6 million. Did you see the hack job that they're doing in center field at Wrigley? Now, they've already done so many things to change Wrigley, these people. Now look what they're doing. They're making like a party cove out in center field in the bleachers at Wrigley Field. Look at that. You can rent you have a private party there now out in center field. Honestly.
They've ruined that ballpark, and then they ruined Soldier Field, too. They've done a great job of ruining everything in Chicago.
They certainly have. Yesterday, we played that clip of Rory talking about Scheffler and telling him to buy a chef. Here's Scheffler breaking down the dangers of trying to cut homemade pasta with a wine glass. I mean, what are we doing here? Here we go.
Well, so like when you make raviolis, we wanted to make them from scratch, and so you like roll the dough and you got to cut the dough. But we were at a rental house, so we didn't have the right tools, and the only thing there was a wine glass that we found, and I had my hand on top of it and it broke. Which, side note, I've heard nothing but horror stories since this happened about wine glasses, so be careful. Even if you're like me and you don't drink wine, you got to be real careful with wine glasses. But yeah, so it broke, and the stem kind of got me in the hand.
Oh my God.
So it's one of those deals where, like it's truly, I can't live in a bubble, like, got to live my life, and accidents happen.
Because you're worth like
it could have been
$300 million
a lot worse. I actually
year?
talked to somebody
You can't live in a
who
bubble?
did the exact same thing, and the stem went straight through their hand. And
Oh,
so
God.
it's
like Jesus.
it's one of those deals where immediately after it happened, I was mad at myself because I was like, gosh, that was so stupid. But you just don't think about it when you're in the moment. And yeah, I've definitely been like a little bit more careful doing stuff.
All right. Well, I know Rory had a good idea. I'll have an even better one. Go buy the pasta in a box when you're away at a house that doesn't have the proper tools to cut homemade pasta.
Airbnb, just go buy it at the store.
Get a clue. Bill Belichick's newest weapon is Gary Merrill. He was the New York State Gatorade Player of the Year for football at quarterback. He's also a 5-star lacrosse midfield recruit. He's going to play both in Chapel Hill at North Carolina. It sounds like he's a bigger lacrosse player than a football player. He's not 5-star.
Well, they're better at lacrosse than they are in basketball and football combined.
Sounds like he's the lacrosse team's weapon, not exactly Bill's weapon on the football team. Sounds like he's a lacrosse guy. ESPN exercises the option to televise ACC sports through 2036, and I saw a caveat of that deal is Notre Dame is going to have to play 2 out of 3, Miami, Florida State, Clemson, every year for like 7 years straight when the new deal kicks in. So you know how Notre Dame rotates all of them? Now that Miami, Clemson, and Florida State, because they wanted more high-profile matchups, they get Notre Dame almost every year. So you're going to get Miami and Notre Dame back on a pretty regular basis.
And what about the Ohio State coach? He's got problems.
This Joe Lieberger is under investigation. ESPN got a letter from the school's human resource department. They don't have specifically what Joe did, but like the other stories that we've told today on Coast to Coast, he's having a bad day. They took his keys, all his stuff. And,
you won't do the story about the MMA fighter with the Holocaust? You're afraid of that one?
How about this? We'll play the clip of Dana tomorrow to do that story because I can't get all that out in the next.
That plane accident in D.C. with so many lost souls, and the U.S. figure skating team had skaters, coaches, family members on board, everyone gone with that plane crash last night in D.C. in the Potomac. What an awful scene that was. But at least Gold Bar Bob got 11 years in prison. Bob Menendez is done. He's going to prison in June for 11 years. GTD is next. Get my app. Search Ferrall. It's badass. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 on Coast to Coast.
Energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You know what? What can one of these quarterbacks or wide receivers do for me this year to make a wager? It's got to be the running conditions there for Jaden Daniels.
In regards to Jaden Daniels, you know I was on him in regards to the Heisman Trophy. I actually think he's going to do it on the ground, through the air, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, playing in Cliff Kingsbury's offense where he wants to spread it and throw it. I think he's going to put up dynamic numbers.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.